All right, today we are digging into one of the weirdest and most fascinating culinary mysteries of all time. We're talking about a food literally thousands of years old, found buried deep in the ground, and it tells a story that is just wild. So, let's get into it.
Okay, just imagine this for a second. You're out walking in a misty Irish field, and your shovel hits something hard. You dig away the dark soil and pull out this strange lump. It's pale, it's kind of waxy, and it feels weirdly dense, almost like a rock, but greasy. What in the world do you think that is?
You might think, okay, maybe it's some kind of strange stone, or maybe a petrified chunk of wood. Nope, it's neither of those. What you're holding in your hands isn't a rock, and it's not wood. It's butter. Yeah, you heard me right. Ancient, perfectly preserved butter.
And obviously, we're not talking about the kind of butter you'd pick up at the grocery store. This stuff is known as bog butter, and it's an incredible food artifact that gives us a direct window into a prehistoric world.
So, what is it exactly? Well, bog butter is pretty much what it sounds like. It's a dairy product, most often butter, but sometimes other animal fats, that ancient people deliberately bury deep inside the peat bogs of northern Europe, especially in places like Ireland and Scotland.
And here's the part that'll blow your mind. Some of these lumps of butter have been dated to be up to 5,000 years old. I mean, think about that. People were burying butter in the ground around the same time the Great Pyramids were being built in Egypt. It's just an unbelievable connection to our most distant ancestors.
Of course, this all leads to the obvious question. How on earth does a dairy product, something that goes bad in just a few weeks, survive for 5,000 years? Well, the answer isn't magic. It's all about the unique chemistry of the bog itself. It's basically nature's perfect preservative.
To put it simply, these ancient people were using the bogs as, natural deep freezers. They figured out that this specific environment could preserve organic materials for a ridiculously long time.
So how does it work? Well, it all comes down to three key things. First, there's almost no oxygen down in the peat, and without oxygen, bacteria just can't grow. Second, the water is super acidic, which basically creates a sterile environment. And third, it's cold, and the temperature is constant, which slows down any decomposition to a crawl. It's the perfect storm for preservation.
Okay, so we've got the how. The bog is a natural fridge. But that brings us to the real mystery of bog butter, the big question. Why? Why would you go through all the trouble of burying perfectly good food in a bog? While archaeologists have a few leading theories, and each one gives us a different look into how these ancient people might have thought. Was it just for practical long-term storage? Was it some kind of valuable sacred offering to their gods? Or, and this one's really interesting, were they trying to age the butter to actually make it taste different? The two biggest theories really come down to practicality versus piety. The prehistoric pantry idea makes a lot of sense. In a time before refrigeration, the bog was the best cold storage you could ask for, and it was a great way to hide your valuable food from thieves or raiders. But then you have the sacred offering theory, which is just as powerful. Bogs are often seen as these mystical places, almost like gateways to another world. So burying a valuable food like butter could have been a way to ask the gods for a good harvest or for protection.
So whether it was for keeping food safe or for pleasing the gods, these finds are so much more than just historical oddities. They're like these echoes from the peat, little messages from the past that tell us a ton about the world our ancestors lived in.
And that's really the heart of it. Each one of these lumps of butter is a direct link to the daily lives, the challenges, and the amazing resourcefulness of the people who came before us. They understood their environment so well that they turned a swampy bog into a sophisticated preservation system.
I think this quote puts it perfectly. Each discovery is a time capsule, a taste of a world long gone. And it's literal. Through chemical analysis, scientists can sometimes figure out what kind of plants the cows were eating, connecting us not just to the people, but to the very landscape they walked on thousands of years ago.
And all of this leaves you with one last, kind of awe-inspiring question. If something as fragile as butter can survive for 5 millennia just waiting for us to find it, it really makes you wonder, doesn't it? What other incredible secrets are still buried right now, right under our feet?